Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a story that delves into the realm of workplace revenge, a tale where the tables turn and the aggrieved find a cunning way to settle the score. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. I pretended to be a recruiter to troll a former workplace bully. A few months ago, I landed a job as a customer service rep at a company, let's call it ABC Company, and there was this colleague, let's call her Karen. Even though we're of the same level, she liked to think of herself as my boss and would constantly micromanage me, making up stupid rules and force me to follow them, etc. One day, I finally couldn't stand her and called her out on her behavior. She got upset and went to complain to the manager, who then stepped in to resolve the conflict. I could tell the manager was on her side, but pretended to act fair and unbiased. Ever since this incident, Karen would occasionally throw shade at me, be passive-aggressive at me, and pass work that was supposed to be hers to me. Basically, she would do all these little things just to annoy me and make my working days unpleasant. Despite me trying to ignore her, she kept coming at me because she knew her friends and the manager would side with her. Then one day, she purposely found an excuse to cause another huge drama, and the manager sided with her again. I couldn't take it anymore and quit on the spot. After about 2 weeks, I was still pretty angry with how she ruined my job. I decided to at least do something to take revenge. And where I live, recruiters and HR would often approach job applicants or any individuals open to work via WhatsApp. And because, based on Karen's LinkedIn profile showing she's open to work and that I have her phone number, I decided to approach her by pretending to be a recruiter by using a second phone number that I have. I approached Karen with this fake identity and told her that we were hiring a customer service rep position. I made up a job description that was similar to her current job, but with slightly better compensation and benefits. Once she said she's interested, I then gave her a job application form and some customer service writing tests that I created to make it more believable. Also, with her job application form, I now have more of her personal info that I might be able to use in the future. After that, I scheduled an online interview with her on the next day after tomorrow. When the day of the interview arrived, I texted her about an hour before the interview saying that upon a background check, we found that she had been engaging in workplace bullying and harassment, and so we would not move forward with her application. Obviously, she was baffled and went, "What?" I didn't reply. She then said, "This is nonsense. I'm going to check with them." Again, I didn't reply. Because she's the type of person where the more you talk to her, the more she's going to come back at you. She likes arguing, and the best way to annoy her is to ignore her so that she doesn't have a channel to vent. I could already tell she's fuming. Plus, whether she asked her manager or not, that's still a win for me. If she asks, then her manager will know that she's thinking of resigning, which will create an awkward situation. If she doesn't ask, then she's going to feel embarrassed that someone out there knows of her toxic behavior, and she has no way to defend herself. Initially, I wanted to make this a pro-revenge by taking it a step further by actually interviewing her and then offering her this fake job, making her resign from her current job, and finally telling her that we're rescinding the offer because of the background check. But then it would be quite hard to find someone else to interview her since she recognizes my voice. Also, I was worried that falsifying an offer letter would put me at a risk of a lawsuit, so ultimately I decided to just take the small victory with that fake background check. Your revenge took a good bit of her personal time and messed with her ego, possibly also her job, if she spoke of it to coworkers. Nice work. And our second story. Ma'am, she's on break. I work at a popular dollar store chain in small-town Texas. We have an old computer system that occasionally needs to be reset due to its glitching. Before the events of the story, we had a problem with some coupons that wouldn't ring up properly, which caused a bit of a line to pile up at my register, the only open register at the time. Most of the customers were super understanding and kind, they usually are, but this one particular person wasn't the most friendly. That's okay, I can deal with grumpy or impatient. I'm almost always in a good mood and happy to help out. It may sound surprising, but I really love my job and my customers. This lady, we'll call her GC for grumpy customer, sets down 5 of those candy packages with the 5 pieces of on-brand chocolate inside a rectangular cardboard strip on the counter. We had a sale of 5 for $5 for candy of the same brand. This is where things immediately got rocky. I began scanning, and as I was telling the last customer to have a nice day, she cut me off. Yeah, okay, I need you to total those and see the price for 5 for $5 to see if you will actually apply this coupon. All right, so I smile and say, of course, we can absolutely check that for you. I total the candies and the discount doesn't apply. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, it didn't apply. GC gets huffy and rolls her eyes. Yeah, y'all did this to me last time. You're shorting me of my discount. I checked the packages to see if they apply to the discount immediately. I noticed they weren't made by the same brand/company. GC, as I looked at the candies, loudly stated, "They're made by Hershey Chocolate. I already checked." I didn't wish to argue with her and thought that maybe our system made an error again. Alrighty, ma'am. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I'll go check with my associate to see if we can figure out the issue. Yeah, okay. GC crossed her arms and began talking to the nice man behind her, who had a full cart waiting patiently while I walked behind a shelf to find my coworker. I heard GC loudly ranting to the man, "This is why I don't come here. They're slow and always on their phones." I didn't know what she meant. We tend to keep off phones unless in the break room. I come back after telling my coworker, an absolute saint of a woman, that I need her assistance. Alrighty, she's on her way. I smiled to the man and GC. We can go ahead and scan the rest of your items, ma'am, while we wait for her. I begin scanning the items before I get to one of the last bags of candy before GC says, "Don't scan that one." Caught off guard, I say, "What?" "Don't scan that one. It's $1 difference, which is what you owe me for that candy. That way you won't be shorting me." I hesitate and say, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I can't legally do that." She scoffs and I try to explain, we can scan all these items and at the end when my coworker gets here we can figure out if it's the system and see if we can fix the discount for you. GC cuts me off. "Okay, do what you need to do." I force a smile and finish the item. "This is too much trouble," GC says to the nice man who says something with humor to lighten the situation. GC speaks again. "This is why I've stopped coming here. She's taking forever because she's in the back there playing on her phone." She was referring to my coworker who'd been on break inside our break room eating and scrolling on her phone. I speak before I can think and say, "She's actually on break?" To my surprise, this made GC stop talking and my coworker arrived to save the day. Thank God. She put her key in the system and asked what the problem was. "The candy," I began, but GC cut me off. "This is a 5 for $5, and it's not giving me my discount. Y'all owe me $1 discount." Let's see, we can do this. My coworker does some magic with the system and sets it right to get this lady her precious discount. "Alrighty, there we go," I say, and total her items again. Finally, GC pays for her items. "Thanks." She storms off quickly with her items. "You're welcome." And I immediately went to the next customer. "Sorry for the wait, sir." "Oh, it's okay," he chuckled and cracked a few jokes, relieving me of my stress. Turns out that the lady was wrong about the discount, and I had been right to check the candy because it was, in fact, not applicable to the discount. We went to check because it was strange even for the system to mess up like that. My coworker just added a discount to diffuse the situation from getting any worse than it already was. Some customers are just awful. All you've done is reward her for being horrible. She'll be back and she'll demand the discount again. And our last story. The HOA board was stealing money. My journey into HOA hell began about 7 years ago, and it started with a small fund that owners had actually donated to, not part of our dues, but was overseen by a committee chaired by the board president about 3 years prior to that. The president had resigned and refused to do anything with those funds. The money was brought up at almost every meeting, and the board basically said, "Not our problem." Eventually, she purchased some crap we could not use, had it direct shipped, and said that was all the money, but refused to provide a receipt. I'm an accountant, and that pissed me off, so I started going through all of the meeting minutes and found several instances where she had stated various amounts that had been donated. I went to the board with my findings. The current treasurer and I got into a heated discussion where she made the comment, "There is no way to account for cash." Again, accountant here, and I knew right then there was an even bigger problem. So once again, I began investigating, and once again, I compiled documentation that showed that board members and their friends were indeed getting perks at the association's expense. Even though people had been complaining about the original fund in question and were extremely angry about the horrible financial situation the association was in, the mismanagement of our dues and the lack of maintenance the association was responsible for doing, as soon as I started talking about the information I had, it was like a switch had been flipped. Sure, in private, people were angry, but in public, I was the bad guy. It got so bad I was getting harassed and threatened, my property vandalized, and I eventually did file a lawsuit with restraining orders against multiple people. Once I did that, it became, yeah, the board may be doing something wrong, harassment, refusal to follow the bylaws, embezzlement, etc., but by hiring an attorney and suing, you're just costing us money. Even though I filed the lawsuit due to the harassment, and I stated in an attempt to work out the problems, and I wasn't asking for money in the suit, instead I was asking for the directors to fulfill their fiduciary duties. I was still viewed as the problem. One of the weirdest things is we learned that because of previous lawsuits that the association lost because they were clearly in the wrong, our insurance went from $1,200 a year to $18,000, and the deductible went from $2,500 to $75,000. Those numbers are not typos. And no one batted an eye over that. They were just pissed I was going to cost them $75K. It's still a mind F. How in the hell do people ignore the fact the board was so effed up they lost multiple lawsuits trying to hide their activities that the rates/deductibles increased that much and not demand changes? There was a lot of crap that happened in the 3 to 4 years that followed before I eventually settled, and it cost them, and their insurance company, a hell of a lot more than the $75K deductible. Upon further investigation, there was evidence that the HOA board was stealing money, some were even jailed, and I'm glad I had a hand in it. Wow, that sounds like an absolute nightmare to deal with. It's shocking how some people in positions of power can abuse their authority and mismanage funds meant for the benefit of the community. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.